Diamonds that fund wars. Oil that sparks conflict. Africa's wealth has been both a blessing and a curse. But who's really profiting from this wealth? And why does it often leave devastation in its wake? Today, we're diving deep into the dirty war for Africa's resources, exposing the shocking realities behind blood diamonds, oil conflicts, and the battle for control. By the end of this video, you'll understand the hidden systems that exploit Africa's wealth, the global powers involved, and how this war impacts millions of lives. This isn't just about economics, it's about power, greed, and survival. Let's start with diamonds, known as blood diamonds. These precious stones have funded some of the most brutal conflicts in African history. Countries like Sierra Leone, Angola, and the Democratic Republic of Congo have seen diamonds used to fuel civil wars, where rebel groups sell gems to buy weapons. During Sierra Leone's civil war in the 1990s, rebels used forced labor to mine diamonds, cutting off the hands of those who resisted. These diamonds were smuggled out of the country and sold on international markets, often ending up in luxury jewelry. The profits funneled back into weapons that prolonged the conflict. Despite global efforts like the Kimberley process, which aims to prevent the sale of conflict diamonds, loopholes remain. Smugglers and corrupt officials find ways to launder blood diamonds, blending them with legitimate stones to bypass regulations. But diamonds are just one part of Africa's story. Let's talk about oil. Africa holds some of the world's largest oil reserves, particularly in countries like Nigeria, Angola, and Libya. While this should bring prosperity, it often leads to corruption, environmental damage, and violence. Take Nigeria, for example. The Niger Delta, one of the most oil-rich regions in the world, is plagued by poverty and pollution. Oil spills have devastated local ecosystems, while billions of dollars in oil revenue vanish into the pockets of corrupt officials and foreign corporations. Meanwhile, militant groups in the region have attacked pipelines and kidnapped oil workers, demanding a share of the wealth. Angola's oil boom is another case. The country became one of Africa's largest oil exporters, but much of the revenue went to a small elite, leaving ordinary citizens in poverty. The government's close ties with foreign oil companies raised questions about who was really benefiting. Libya's oil wealth has also been a source of conflict. After the fall of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, rival factions and foreign powers began fighting for control of the country's oil fields. Today, Libya remains deeply divided, with its vast oil reserves at the center of ongoing disputes. So who are the players in this dirty war? Foreign corporations and governments are deeply involved. Multinational companies like Shell, Total, and ExxonMobil dominate Africa's oil industry, often extracting resources without reinvesting in local communities. Meanwhile, global powers like the US, China, and European nations compete for access to these resources. China, for example, has invested heavily in African oil through its Belt and Road Initiative. Chinese companies have signed major deals in Angola, Sudan, and Nigeria, securing a steady flow of oil to fuel China's rapid industrial growth. But this often comes with strings attached, such as loans that leave African nations in debt. The US also plays a significant role, particularly through its military presence in Africa. AFRICOM, the US Africa Command, claims to fight terrorism and secure stability, but critics argue it's also about protecting American access to oil and other resources. European nations, particularly former colonial powers, have maintained a strong grip on Africa's wealth. France, for instance, relies on uranium from Niger to fuel its nuclear power plants, while British companies have long dominated mining and oil operations in several African countries. But here's the harsh reality. While foreign powers and corporations profit, many African communities suffer. The environmental impact of resource extraction is devastating. Oil spills destroy farmland and fishing waters, Diamond mining leaves vast areas uninhabitable, and in many cases, the wealth from these resources funds corruption and violence rather than development. This dirty war isn't just about resources, it's about control. Global powers use a combination of economic deals, military alliances, and political influence to maintain their grip on Africa's wealth. For example, countries like France and the UK often tie development aid to agreements that benefit their corporations. Meanwhile, African leaders face tough choices. Some negotiate deals with foreign powers to attract investment, hoping to boost their economies. Others, like Botswana, have taken a different approach, using diamond revenues to fund education and infrastructure. But success stories like Botswana are rare. So where does Africa go from here? Some nations are pushing for greater control over their resources. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, for example, the government recently renegotiated mining contracts to ensure more profits stay within the country. Other nations are exploring partnerships with emerging powers like India and Turkey to reduce reliance on traditional superpowers. Regional organizations like the African Union are also stepping up, calling for greater collaboration among African nations to manage resources and negotiate better deals. The hope is that by working together, Africa can break free from this cycle of exploitation. At the same time, grassroots movements are rising across the continent. Local activists are demanding accountability from governments and corporations, fighting for environmental protection and fair distribution of resource wealth. The stakes couldn't be higher. Africa's resources are critical to the global economy, particularly as the world shifts toward clean energy. Cobalt, lithium, and other minerals needed for batteries and renewable energy are abundant in Africa, making the continent a key player in the 21st century economy. But this also means the battle for control is far from over. As global demand for resources grows, the risks of corruption, conflict, and environmental destruction increase. The question is, can Africa turn its wealth into a force for good, or will it remain trapped in this dirty war? What do you think? Is Africa taking control of its resources, or is it being exploited by global powers? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated with Noble Black News channel for more in-depth stories about the forces shaping our world.
Thank you for watching Noble Black News, where we strive to bring you the real stories and perspectives that truly matter. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your community, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest content. Together, let's continue to uncover the untold stories and celebrate the achievements of the global Black community. Stay tuned for more powerful stories. Until next time.